My name is Elizabeth Bellamy, and I'm 25 years old. The biggest opportunity of my life was only hours away. That afternoon, I was scheduled to interview at Yale School of Medicine, a dream I had spent years chasing through endless study nights, double shifts at a local diner, and sacrifices no one ever noticed. Before sunrise, I was already awake. Sleep wasn't possible. I kept replaying interview questions in my head, hoping I had prepared enough. Hanging neatly inside my closet was the only professional blazer I owned. It wasn't expensive, but to me it was priceless. I had bought it secondhand, saved for months to afford it, and had it professionally cleaned just a week before the interview. It wasn't just a jacket, it was my confidence. My younger sister, Vanessa, had never celebrated my success. Every achievement I earned seemed to annoy her more than inspire her. Over the years, I had learned to stay quiet and avoid conflict. That morning, I believed keeping my distance was enough. I was wrong. After breakfast, I walked back into my room and immediately noticed a strong chemical smell. My heart sank. I grabbed my blazer from the hanger and froze. Large white bleach stains covered the shoulder, lapel, and front. Someone hadn't ruined it by accident. Someone had deliberately destroyed the one thing I needed most. Just hours before the most important interview of my life. My hands started shaking as I carried the ruined blazer downstairs. Vanessa was sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast as if nothing had happened. My mother stood beside the coffee maker, completely relaxed. Holding up the damaged blazer, I asked the only question that mattered. "Did you do this?" Vanessa barely looked at it. "I have no idea what you're talking about," she replied with a careless shrug. I turned to my mother, hoping she would at least understand how important today was. Instead, she glanced at the stains and sighed. "Elizabeth, stop making such a big deal out of it. It's only a jacket." Only a jacket. Those 3 words hurt almost as much as the bleach itself. A few seconds later, my father walked into the kitchen. He looked at the blazer, heard the conversation, and simply said, "Don't start an argument before your interview." Not one person asked who had ruined it. Not one person offered to replace it. Not one person cared that years of sacrifice had nearly been destroyed overnight. I quietly returned to my room, closed the door, and allowed myself exactly 10 minutes to cry. When the tears stopped, I looked at the blazer again. The stains couldn't be hidden, the damage couldn't be repaired. I had only 2 choices: stay home and lose the opportunity I had worked for, or walk into Yale wearing the very thing someone had tried to use to break my confidence. I chose to fight. I put on my white blouse, black trousers, and the damaged blazer without trying to hide the bleach stains. If people noticed them, they noticed them. I refused to let someone else's cruelty decide my future. The drive to Yale took nearly 2 hours. Every mile I reminded myself why I had started this journey. When I reached the admissions building, I saw other applicants dressed in flawless designer suits. For a brief moment, I felt out of place. Then I remembered something important. I wasn't there because of my clothes. I was there because I had earned my seat. When my name was called, I walked into the interview room with my head held high. The Dean of Admissions studied my application before looking up at me. His eyes briefly rested on my stained blazer. Then something unexpected happened. He smiled. "Wait," he said, "you're Elizabeth Bellamy?" I nodded, confused. Instead of asking about the jacket, he reached into a folder and pulled out a document. Months earlier, my research paper on healthcare access had won a national undergraduate award. He had personally served on the selection committee. "I remember your work," he said warmly. "It was impossible to forget." For the next 50 minutes, we didn't talk about my blazer. We talked about medicine, about serving underserved communities, about my dreams, my research, and the doctor I hope to become. For the first time that day, I completely forgot about the bleach stains. 6 weeks passed. One cold afternoon, I opened my mailbox and found a large envelope with the Yale School of Medicine logo across the front. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. With trembling hands, I opened it. Congratulations. That was all I needed to read. I had been accepted. Not only that, I had received a full merit scholarship. Years of sacrifice, sleepless nights, and quiet determination had finally paid off. I stood there smiling through tears before walking back into the house. My mother was the first person I saw. Without saying a word, I placed the acceptance letter on the kitchen table. She read it slowly. The confidence she always carried disappeared. "I always knew you could do it," she said softly. I looked at her for a moment before answering. "No, please don't say that." The room fell silent, because we both knew the truth. She had never believed in me. She had watched while my sister tried to destroy my biggest opportunity. My father read the letter next. He quietly shook my hand. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was the closest thing he had ever offered. Vanessa walked past the table without saying a single word. No apology, no explanation, nothing. And for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't need one. I never threw that blazer away. Even today, it still hangs in my closet. The bleach stains are still there, impossible to remove, but I don't see damage when I look at it anymore. I see proof that someone else's jealousy couldn't stop my future. Every time I face a difficult exam, a stressful hospital shift, or a moment of self-doubt, I look at that old jacket and remember the day I refused to give up. Vanessa tried to destroy my confidence. Instead, she reminded me that real strength doesn't come from perfect clothes or perfect circumstances. It comes from refusing to quit when everything is working against you. My parents never truly apologized for choosing silence over support. But I stopped waiting for their approval. Some people spend their lives hoping the people who hurt them will finally understand. I chose something different. I moved forward. I built the life I had dreamed of through hard work, determination, and faith in myself. Looking back now, I realized that my biggest victory wasn't getting into Yale. It was walking through those interview doors with my head held high, despite every reason to turn around. Because success isn't about never facing obstacles. It's about refusing to let those obstacles decide who you become. And sometimes the very thing meant to break you becomes the reason the world remembers your strength.